everybody. Welcome back. It's me, Margaret Edwartowski, and you have tuned into Hey Gurl, episode 2. Now, once is a fluke, twice is a thing. So we are a thing now, and I'm really, really excited to be back talking to all of you. Just quickly, if this is your first time joining us for Hey Gurl, this is a show that, a while back I was thinking about what can I do in this new world? Pivot. The word is pivot. Everyone wants to pivot. And I wanted to, I've always wanted to teach workshops for women only. And then like, maybe we'll just connect with some women. And then I started to think about, all of the amazing women that I've worked with and all of their experiences. And, we're really taking a sort of new look at the world through new eyes these days. And we're trying to be a lot more compassionate and understanding about the people around us. And women in comedy have for a long time pressed on in sometimes difficult and sometimes perfectly awesome situations, but they're resilient individuals, and I think they deserve a lot of credit and signal boost and celebration. So that's really what Hey Gurl is all about. And I have the fortune of having some really amazing guests with us this week. But I really just wanted to check in on things that I've been thinking about lately for a quick second, and then we'll talk to our guests. So I don't know about y'all, but I feel like we turned a sort of a weird corner this week in the realm of life and the pandemic and all things quarantine. School started for a lot of folks. We started last week here in my kids' district, and schooling online is a whole new world, especially when you work full-time as I do. And I know that has been really stressful for a lot of people. Also, the weather is cooling off. So there's this fear of, are we going back into our terrifying caves with the same people every day, right? And also the sense of, we've been doing this thing for about 6 months now, and when are things going to change? So I find that this is a time we really, really do need this humor. Hopefully we'll be able to give you some really great laughs tonight with these awesome women that I have lined up. But I just wanted to say, because I know it's been challenging for me, if you're out there and having a difficult week, I think it's in the air, whether it's a full moon or all these things I just mentioned. We've really turned a strange corner. And I think as long as we all continue to look out for each other, wear those masks, and breathe through it, we're going to get by. It's a bit of a grim message this week, but I just usually want to start these shows off with, what's going on with me before I share what's going on with the cool people we have on board. So before we get started, I wanted to mention that we are streaming via Planet Ant, which is a place I'm very passionate about. If you have the opportunity, please support Planet Ant and donate to them. Theaters have some of the most difficult times, or some of the folks who are having the most difficult time during this quarantine. So please support them. Okay, let's move on to the funny people. I already was having a great time chatting with them, so I think we're going to have some pretty awesome conversations today. So to begin with, well, first and foremost, I wanted to give a shout out to Jess Cooper, who is typically our producer, but she's off taking a little trip that she deserves, and she's amazing. And we want to thank her for setting everything up for her substitute this week, Parker Hammond. We let a guy in, you guys. We let a guy in, and he's doing an amazing job. We also have now to give a shout out to Andy Cobb, who did a little bit of tech support, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I also want to thank Ruth Blom Hunter, who is off this week, but she is one of our producers, and she's amazing. And that's all the people behind the scenes that are making Hey Gurl happen. Okay, so this first young woman, I have seen around Planet Ant and have seen, honestly, following a lot of her Instagram, but I know that she is sort of a rising star within the Planet Ant sphere, and I think she is a fearless and funny woman. Ellen has been involved in the Detroit comedy scene since the age of 18. She tried a little stand-up acting and improv, but prefers sketch writing the best. In the beginning of 2020, she debuted her original stage play, Glamway, just on the eve of the world shutting down. She once told a joke about Hamm's beer on stage, and then an audience member bought her a Hamm's. Isn't that a nice story? Please welcome Ellen Stakowitz. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. See, I tried to put my own spin on it, but maybe we should workshop that a bit. Okay.
As long as you say it back, you're in. So it's good. Welcome.
You mentioned my Instagram. I was like racking my brain. I'm like, oh God, have I been posting anything funny? It's just been my cats and selfies of me at work with a caption that says like, me at work, like, nothing really great.
Well, and I want to mention it, but because I could talk to you for a very long time about it. We've got some people to bring on. We'll definitely come back around to it. But one of the things that on social media, this might have been Facebook too, but you've been very candid about working during the pandemic and dealing with a lot of people who haven't made it so easy on you.
I've had some difficult folks, but I've also had some pretty wonderful folks at the place I work at, and I've got nothing but good things to say about them. But yeah, I do try to keep it honest and just, I mean, someday it might be something I'm looking back at 10, 20 years from now, and I want to have a bookmark of what it was actually like and not the Lifetime movie version of what it was like. If that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it was great perspective because I think a lot of us, any of us who were fortunate enough to work from home, I know I was like super like closed in, really careful about everything, and to hear what was going on out in the world from your perspective was really.
Well, I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm glad you shared. Well, let's bring on our other guests. What do you think?
Shall we? Yes.
All right. I'm super excited to have our next guest with us, Claudia Michelle Wallace. I don't often drop the words legendary down a lot, but I think she is definitely someone deserving of that. I knew that she was an alum of the Second City, Chicago, but as soon as I started to do a little looking into her experience, then it was like every main improv entity she had a history with. So, UCB, IO, The Annoyance, the list just went on. And I think that so many people have had the great fortune of working with her because she's just done so much. And you've probably seen her on Shameless and Key and Peele and Parks and Rec. And she even wrote a 2-woman show with one of our other guests. So you'll hear more about that, I'm sure. But please warmly welcome Claudia Michelle Wallace.
Yeah.
Hey, girl.
Hi, girl.
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. So how's Chicago?
Chicago is good. It's cooling down a little bit. I know we talked a little bit about that earlier, but it's okay. I'm okay with this temperature.
Yeah, I forget that I really like fall because that winter fear has been overwhelming it, but it's nice. And plus, it's a little earlier there where you are.
Yes.
So that's why I was like, oh, it's so light out by her.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for asking me. I really appreciate it.
You were one of the first people that came to mind. There's so many amazing women, and it's a real honor for me to get a chance to talk to everybody. So thank you. Last but not least, we are going to bring on our third guest of the night. When I tell you I have known this girl for a long time, she was just a little youngin'. We both went to the same alma mater, Wayne State University. She's an alum of both Second City Detroit and Second City Chicago. You would have seen her on Parks and Rec, The Big Bang Theory, According to Jim, Hannah Montana, Modern Family, Key and Peele, Workaholics, The Good Place, and currently on Bob Hart's Abishola, and performed quite a bit with Claudia as well. So please warmly welcome Maribeth Monroe. Yay! Hey, girl.
Hey, girls.
What's up?
Oh my gosh, and I'm with the legendary Claudia Wallace.
Oh,
Isn't she legendary?
She is.
You know,
that is so true. I love you, Claudia. That's
I love you too.
my first thoughts of like, oh, she's my legendary friend. But
But I am your legendary friend. No, I'm just kidding.
No, when you think of all the, like Margaret was saying, the capacities you worked with the Second City, all the theaters you worked in, you are kind of legendary in the improv community.
That's really
I'm
sweet.
not gonna let it go to your head, but I
don't have legendary money, so it won't go to my head.
I mean,
Not yet.
Yes.
Is your purse on the floor? Don't. Is your purse?
No, my purse is not on the floor. You know, I taught you that.
Yeah,
I was going to say, did you learn that from Claudia?
Yes. And to this day, I'm really paranoid
that's
about
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Ellen, have you heard of that?
No, but my purse is right here.
Okay.
Maybe I'll show it off. It is cute.
Oh, it is cute.
But what can you clue me in on this life hack? Let's see.
It's an old. I think it's an old Black wives' tale. Don't put your purse on the floor, or money flies out. You'll never have any money. And I think it might come from reality, because I did see a video of a woman having her purse on the floor at a restaurant, and how somebody walked past and kind of coughed. And as they coughed, they reached down and got her wallet out of her purse. And I said, that is probably where this wives' tale comes from. But yeah, so
I don't put money in any of my pockets. I once had a $20 bill fall out of my back pocket at a grocery store. It goes right in the bra now. I know it's safe there.
Yeah.
My only challenge with the bra money, having been a cashier, is the wetness.
Oh yeah.
You know,
well, and
once you get a boob wet 20, it's rough.
I also have to say, I don't know if it's easier being a larger chested woman, but being a smaller chested woman, putting anything in there is just like
paper cuts.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's not enough softness in there to hold.
Well, also everyone's gonna be like, "You got a 20 in your shirt, don't you?"
Yeah, I can see the numbers through your bra.
Well, you've heard about the pencil test, right?
Yes.
About the boobs. Yeah. About if you can put a pencil on it. I don't know what that proves. I mean, I could hold a pack of pencils, but I don't know what. It means you have big boobs, I guess. But
yeah.
What's that, Ellen?
I've heard that for the butt, and that's always made me really insecure. I saw it like on a workout tape when I was like a child. I don't know, but it's like if you could stick a pencil under your butt and it holds there, that means your butt's. I don't know. That's how impressionable this stuff is.
Wow.
But I did try it, and I failed the pencil test.
Oh,
I mean, are you supposed to put it in the crack or under the?
That's what I'm saying. In your butt or under your chin?
I've done that.
the crack part. I mean, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I have definitely lost pencils in my hair that I didn't know were there.
You have serious hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a song. I bet you've lost Oscar in there. I would have
close. Pretty close. That's rough though, like when you know, because you just like throughout the day, like pop one in your, ponytail or whatever, and then you go to sleep at night, you're like, ow!
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way to wake
up. Like you absorbed a twin. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to hear what you doing. What are you doing? Claudia, let's start off with you.
Okay.
And, we talked about this on the first episode. Like, this is kind of an interesting time for creatives because you either... You're doing one of a few things. You're either really inspired and have a lot of opportunities, or there's stress and all these other things keeping you from it, or your work is your creativity. So where are you at? What are you doing?
I am at home, not doing too much, but as I did have a day job. I'm furloughed from that day job right now.
Okay.
I was casting director at the Second City. That was my day job, but I continued to act and perform and audition and do all of those things. But as we all know, that's very slow right now. It's picking up a little bit. So I've invested in a ring light, and and I've started getting some more auditions, self-tapes and stuff like that. So that's kind of hopeful that those are rolling in slowly. Auditions. I've started kind of, and I'll be honest, I've been kind of in and out of a funk because of the pandemic, and as Mary Beth can attest, I'm always in I'm always in LA a couple times a year for work. I'm traveling, a lot, and now I'm not doing any of that. So my wanderlust is like, I need to go somewhere. So when I'm out of a funk, I'm I'm writing a pilot for a television show based on my time living in LA.
Cool.
And I have a couple of other ideas that I'm kind of like mulling around and working on how to format them. And then I have a screenplay that I've written that I want to try to get out there to people. But other than that, I'm just, this is a stressful time, especially for people who like to go and be about. And I'm also like trying to be, I'm going to quarantine myself, and I'm not going out to eat, and I'm not doing all the things that I'm used to doing. So that part's a little hard.
So are you more of a social being and that kind of thing? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I have made it to the mall though.
The mall.
Yes.
Whoa.
Wow.
But I have specific things that I'm like, okay, this is what I want, and I go into that store and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a little. I'm not like leisurely walking the mall.
Taking a slow stroll with a Slurpee and a Mrs. Fields cookie.
Yeah. Too, don't you, Claudia? You mall walk?
No, I don't. Mall walk. I know that seniors mall walk. You trying to say something, Mary Beth?
Legendary mall walker.
Legendary. Thank you, Margaret.
I feel bad for introducing that, but well, Mary Beth, what kind of mall walking are you up to these days?
She's mom walking.
You know what I will say, honestly, before this whole, because right now, I don't know if you guys know how bad the air quality is in California right now. Like, we literally cannot leave homes because the air quality is hazardous to normal people's health, which, LA can be bad for compromised people, but it's going to be bad for everybody for a while. So I'm literally trapped. But just to speak to the mall walking for a little bit, before that happened, this air quality situation, I did buy wrist weights, and I would hike and do wrist exercises on my hike. Oh yeah. Get ready. Keep listening. And then I put a brim hat on and like, and like these teenagers, it's this hiking trail is pretty sparse. That's why I do it, because I'm trying to be like Claudia and be very safe and responsible.
Yeah.
But man, I've gotten to that point in my life that teenagers can visibly laugh at me, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Old.
I'm
You're
like,
there.
wait till you see my arms on camera, bitch. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I've turned into that mall walker. That's why, like, to me, God bless those mall walkers. It's a compliment. They did not care, and they go for it. And
I do though, like thinking of like if I were out in the world and saw you doing that, right? I always think of and this and I don't have your arms, so I should do what you're doing. Wow. But I think of those times, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt this, you people, friends, have ever felt this. where you're like, I'm a comedian. It's not fair for you to do that in front of me in a time where I can't laugh at you. You know what I mean? Like people like, well, you're like
100%.
Especially at work, like when I'm supposed to be like a, you know, boss and stuff. And then somebody does something ridiculous. You're like, I want to mock you. So right.
Squelch all your improv instincts.
Yes.
And you know, that's the charm of teenagers, right? They don't give an F.
Oh,
nope.
So, they're the ultimate improvisers, I guess. I
was say improvisers are teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about all the dudes too, like they're like your brothers, and you like, look at that idiot, right? As soon as you do something, you're like, oh, they're gonna razz me so bad.
Yeah, and then heighten. Hilarious.
Yep, and nobody cries because you know you deserved it. So, what are you doing creatively, Maribeth?
Really have been focusing on these past, you know, God, how long has it been since March? We've been in this, just focusing on my daughter and trying to look at that as a gift. And I'm very grateful. And, you know, I joke that I really do feel like I won the lottery and that I happened to be on a show that, oh, this is my dog just walked in. Okay, Tommy.
Aww.
Hi, Tommy. But I feel I'm one of the lucky ones in the sense that a show that I was on did end up getting picked up, and we're going back to start shooting like next week. So I honestly, it was such a gift throughout this pandemic to be like, oh my gosh, I get to be creative again. And saying, you know, I'm saying that knowing that like the dearest people in my life, everyone I know, the dearest people in my life are struggling and trying to figure out when, you know, what's going to happen for them next. So, you know, I really count my blessings. I think this has been a huge perspective changer for everyone, all of us. And I really am. We all are going to be different coming out of this.
Yes.
And I'm trying to embrace what I get to do in this time, which is be with my daughter and have this precious little time. You know, she's turning 2 literally tomorrow. So it's this time is so fleeting. Everybody, you know, I've gotten lectures from Claudia about it. Jesus, enjoy it.
It goes by so fast.
It goes by so fast from the legendary Claudia Wallace.
Trust me, because our kids' birthdays are close together, and I'm hitting 7. You know, it does. The thing that sucks about having a kid is this. Through the whole time of being pregnant and all of raising him, there's always somebody who's ahead of you that's just like, here's a piece of advice, and you roll your eyes and you're like, oh, shut up, I don't want to hear it. And then you turn into that person. You like, they move a slot up, you step into their slot, and you go, it just goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And I'm already that person with
circle of life.
We all man.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I'm already doing that with friends who have just had their babies, like their pandemic babies. And I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, oh gosh, it goes so fast. And I'm like, she's 2, calm down.
Relax.
But it it feels like 4 million years ago and 2 minutes ago, all at the same time. It's so weird. Time is
absolutely.
So weird. But as far as, you know, staying creative in a personal career way in the past few months, I've been trying to do, you know, I've done a couple podcasts, I've been working on a few scripts and things like some writing, but I really, it's just been like family doubling down. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. And there's a spectrum. Like some people are like, cool, now I get to, you know, and some of us are like, all right, I'll do some when I can.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's me.
Yeah, that's me too. Yeah. Ms. Ellen, how are you? What have you been up to? You've been talking about streaming like you're kind of a pro in the land of the 4 of us. So what have you been doing?
No, not quite any streams.
Okay.
If you ask me to hop on, I'll do it. But I tried to do a couple of my own streams, and like if it wasn't meant for me before the pandemic, like I don't know if it'll ever be for me. And I'm like, okay, but how can I take the element of like the stuff I used to love to do live on stage, try to translate that more to this outlet, because there already are a lot of people in like the stream community, the TikTok community, YouTubers who've been doing it for years. And it's just not my thing. I don't really find that same excitement just talking into a camera, if there isn't that feedback, right. I realized I really like live performance. So
yeah.
But I've been trying to keep the digital jams going with the Panelist, and been trying to write for at least 30 minutes a day.
Oh,
like
nice.
The first month of quarantine, I don't know where the energy came from, but I sat down, did it, and you can really get a lot done 30 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. So
nice.
Now I'm trying to look at what I was writing at the beginning and just trying to rework it for when we eventually.
And you're writing sketch, right? You're just writing sketch after sketch kind of stuff, or is it all different kinds of stuff?
I try to force myself to keep a diary, so 5 minutes of free writing. That's kind of the diary, or just whatever's on my mind to get it running, mm-hmm. and then 25 minutes of a creative project, if that's going to be a sketch or a script. Mm-hmm. Trying to take a look at the play that I had before the world shut down. It shut down on its closing weekend. So that's already 6 months ago. I'm trying not to dwell on it.
I can't believe that.
It feels like it was yesterday, but it was 6 months ago. So
it's funny. Speaking of, and you're talking about Glamway, right?
I am, yeah.
Speaking of which, and this is what once I had Maribeth on the slate for this episode, what made me think of you is I think both of you have something in common, that Glamway showed you sort of showed the world, Ellen, that you're pretty fearless, and this sort of leads into something I wanted to talk to all of you about. You're pretty fearless in being your authentic self, showing yourself, and we used to call it going ugly, right? Or getting ugly for the character. And I wanted to talk to everybody about that, sort of this happens specifically in women, right? They don't talk about this with guys, because, this is my rant for a lifetime, is the typical relationship on TV and comedy is honeymooners, Flintstones, King of Queens, whatever. It's a guy who looks like a potato, and then a model. So guys don't have to go ugly; they can look however they want, right? But for us, it's either character type choices, or physical behaviors, or costumes, or whatever. So I don't know. I just wanted to generally open that topic. Does anybody have any thoughts about what women are asked to do to be funny in the going ugly realm?
You know what? Something I've noticed. It's a little challenging to step into an improv scene and portray that you're playing a male character.
Interesting.
And the people around you just assume that you are a woman, so you could enter the scene and then you get called Nancy. You're right. Somebody's mom, and you gotta rework the brain. Like, okay, I gotta yes and this. I'm So that's a challenge I've had. But then I'll see non-women improvisers step into a scene, and they'll just talk like this, and they're like, oh, well, that's a girl. You know what? The more experienced people you play with, the less you see that. But I think
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always a pet peeve of mine. I don't know if that quite falls under the category, but it can.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Early on in my improv career, I was in the touring company with would it be half of the UCB crowd? So it would Matt Walsh, Ian Roberts, Horatio Sands. And for a while, every time I came out on stage, no matter what voice I used, no matter what physicality I took, I was always the Black woman.
Oh, yeah.
And it took me having a conversation with them to say, listen, I can come. You got to see me past that. You got to see past that. And I remember the day it clicked for them is they were all doing Presidents of the United States, and I came out as Washington. And I knew they didn't know Sally Hemings was, but I thought they were gonna make me a slave. But they caught on that it was George Washington, and then I said, "Bing." They got it now.
Great. That's great. Good for you.
It's funny you mentioned that because I tell this a lot in classes. There was a time was Sam Richardson and I, and this was just socially, like outside of playing an aunt. I made some kind of joke because we were talking about this earlier. When we did a lot of stuff that addressed race in the 90s, and I thought I was like as woke as it could be, and that I didn't have anything else to learn, and that I could make jokes and code switch and do all these things, and I said something to Sam, and I don't know what I said, but he was like, can you not make everything you say to me about me being Black? And it was like, wow. And I'm so thankful to him for saying that to me, because it was a total paradigm shift.
Wow.
Maribeth, how about you? Like, because I know you did some characters back in the day. I think of the Daggett Farm, but
really hideous, trollish women. I mean, but
dedicated though. That's what
dedicated.
I was always respected.
Well,
that I always respected is you threw like your entire physical being into those characters.
I was a very physical player, and I think part of that, if I'm being honest, for anybody who doesn't kind of already know the story, I'm sure a lot of our friends are listening to this, but Margaret is who I came in for in Second City Detroit. So she's who I watched for I watched for a year, 2 years, and I like she was my oh my God, she's magic, this is magic. How do they do this? Like it was just all the little all the improv love seeds were sown in that cast and watching her. So you went ugly. I mean, if you're going to talk about ugly characters, I mean, you did some great, broad, big characters, and it sang to my heart, and then I was coming from a musical theater background. So I just thought, part of me was like, oh, that's what you do. I have to I have to commit to these really great, strong characters, whether it's vocally, physically, with a point of view, because that's what I watched and fell in love doing, truly. So, and I also think there's an element of playing with, in our time, especially predominantly men. I mean, sometimes, one other woman tops, and then a sea of white dudes, So I think to get in there and to hang, I was like, oh, I can kind of shock myself into some authority here and some status and kind of get into this scene if I make these really absurd choices that that take them off guard a little bit, because they're I think there's a tendency, at least with a lot of the men I played with, to be referential and smart at the height of your intelligence, and that's not really my bag completely.
Really?
I was like, how do I stand out in this really smart group of improvisers? I know.
Smart, right.
I realized about myself this past year, I do like playing the bigger, funner characters, as opposed to, I think for 7 years, 6 years, my first couple years in improv, I really just thought, be meta, just be yourself, be dry, be the straight man in the scene. I don't know if there's a better term I can use for that now.
Right.
We do need a new term for that.
Oh my God.
That's my favorite thing to play.
I realized the people around me on stage were having more fun this past year of me doing improv when I let go of that insecurity, and I was I like that phrase, take them off guard. It is always fun to just do a big character right off the top, and I would have more fun with it. My scene partners would have more fun with it. The audience, the past show I was working on, I ate M&Ms off the floor, and I loved doing that, and I wrote that in the script for myself to do, and I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. The girl is fearless. She's pretty fearless.
Amazing.
But that's what I have so much respect for, is it could be very easy to be worried about what you look like.
Yeah.
In
the beginning, when I first started taking classes and being an understudy for Second City, I would perform. I would be like, well, what do they want to see?
Right.
In order for me to get promoted and move forward, I thought I was like, well, I'm going to give them what I think they want to see. And it wasn't until the moment that I said, F that, just do what you want on stage and be as big or be whatever you want to be on stage, say whatever you want to say on stage. When I let go of what I thought they wanted and just did what I wanted is when actual people took notice.
One other thing, right? Well, because, and then there's always that ham bone in us too, that like Ellen was saying, that connection to the audience. And I think, Maribeth, I was thinking about this when you were talking, is like, okay, that got a little laugh. I'm going to do 1,000 times that.
Yeah.
Right. So if like, this is funny, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
And sometimes looking back at my 20-something self was like, all right,
Okay.
rope it in,
Down. We can.
because everything had an accent.
Oh,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Or was a child,
Yep.
there was no nuance.
or like a humpback. No one? Anyone? Humpback?
What?
No. Anyone?
Everybody, that was her go-to.
That was a big go-to.
That was her
Your
go-to.
go-to
Humpback.
was a humpback.
Oh, there were a few
sweetie.
characters. I played a troll in Chicago. It's like
Yep. Troll under the bridge.
troll under the bridge, baby.
And now you can't do that anymore because trolls have spoken up.
Yeah.
Millennial improvisers. I've done a lot of scenes about divorced dads. That's the big trope that I love to play. So I've been trying to avoid that character because I'm like, it's been done. It's an easy laugh, but it's been done.
Interesting.
That's the improviser trope, divorced dad.
Wow.
This is why I love having millennials and younger on this, both of the shows that I've done in this streaming show.
You on this one.
This one and the other one, because I'm so like in this bubble. Like Claudia and Maribeth and I would have had some of the same timeline era experience, and so much has happened since then, and so it's really nice to get that fresh perspective. One thing I wanted to ask all of you guys about is that guys thing. I gotta drop it. When I was coming up, and the woman ahead of me left, was it Angela Shelton? Somebody that was senior to me had left. And so now I'm the senior woman in the ensemble. And then the producer took me aside and said, "You're going to have to be the strong woman now." Right.
Oh.
And it fucked me up.
Wow,
And it made me a trifling bee. But what did you have moments where your perception of what being a strong woman was solidified or shifted? How did that affect your play? Maribeth, start us off on that one.
I have a couple of stories about that kind of shook me during my career of like, whoa, this, now my eyes are open a little wider of like what I think certain people think of female improviser, or like how a cast should go. But I will, of course, not name names, but
I did.
There were
there
were some producers and directors in the day that I heard had a formula for a cast, that you needed the really smart woman, and you needed the crazy woman, and you needed the alpha male, and you needed the, kind of crazy male. And I might be getting these titles wrong, but
Ingenue is one.
What is it?
Ingenue.
Sorry, ingenue. Yes. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I'm the crazy one. Like, I'm the crazy one, aren't I? Like, it put this weird, like, oh my God, I have a label now that I didn't know of. And this is like a shared idea among, like, frankly, older white dudes that were making these decisions. And I'm like, oh God, like, I'm not crazy. And then it was like, I wanted to fight against everything that represented. And now I'm like, I can totally be the ingenue, like, no, like, it made me like, don't label me. Like, it really put this, like, don't label me.
So did you determine you were the crazy one based on, like, there was a smart one?
Yes.
Like, you cast yourself in that part?
Like, well, she's clearly smart and she's adorable.
It was Claudia, wasn't it? Claudia was the smart one.
No, I feel like nobody knew what to do with me.
Oh, yeah.
But see, that's what I'm saying. There's no, these are ridiculous labels.
Yes.
Because, like, so that was one story. And then the other thing that really rang true to me of, like, I went through an entire time in a company, when I was touring with Second City, that I thought, like, I had these really strong relationships. And then many years later, I came to find out that, like, no, like, they were actively, like, they were actively kind of plotting against me or going to higher ups about me. And so that was very like shattering of like, oh God, like I'm so naive. And frankly, I feel like I'm so charming that like, how can someone not like, it didn't even occur to me. Looking for it, you know, because I was just like, oh no, I'm so kind and we're having fun. But it was all kind of a facade. So like to have those rugs kind of
interesting.
I saw the wizard, I should say, in those two scenarios.
Behind the curtain. It is. We'll come back to, you know, how we treat each other, an ally or not. But any other Ellen or Claudia, as far as like being a strong woman?
Geez, I mean, I think it's kind of a myth. I never really liked that term.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I got into this as like an 18-year-old girl. And I don't think I was strong back then, and I was pretty naive, and just my perception of like, okay, I'm gonna go into this open mics every night of the week, not gonna date anybody, I'm gonna not put too many miles on my parents' car, and I broke all of those rules. I really thought I was doing it wrong until I looked around me and realized, hey, like I really can't explain. I don't want to.
I get it.
Mouth, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I got into this later in life. I mean, I was married and had kids. I had previous jobs before this, and I kind of like accidentally fell into Second City and improv. I don't think I ever labeled myself. Well, I do think I'm a strong woman, but that has nothing to do with improv and sketch comedy. It has to do with who I am and what I've gone through in life. I have been privy to conversations with producers telling people that, oh, you're the senior member now.
Right.
So you've got to behave in a certain way so that the other actors, improvisers look up to you. And I do think that's too much pressure to put on anybody.
And then all I did was fight a lot with the guy, because I'm supposed to be the defender of women. Right. Stand up for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to experiment. Well, and I kind of envy Claudia for sort of having her life more settled and who she is as a person, more established going into this stuff than I did, because going into it at 23, 22, when you're still like so much of your life is based on what boys think of you. You know what I mean? Like, why is all the girls want Josh and I'm sitting alone at the bar, you know? So we're going to experiment. We haven't done this before. So we're going to try to take some questions live from the stream. And we have one already for Ellen. So Ellen, how comfortable were you? This is from Von Wank. I don't know what that means. Their screen name. How comfortable were you with how long your character was off stage between the time you were abducted and the sales meeting in your show? P.S. Eminem on the half shell was the best gag in the show.
Oh, that's
so we got some love from the folks out there.
Well, I guess for the non-Planet Ant folks, the background of the show, so this question makes a little sense, was it was parodying like beauty multi-level marketing schemes, and there was a giant evil sexy Eminem at one point in the show, which was the artwork that I had that I didn't want to put on camera because I was afraid we'd get a copyright strike. But
she did. She had a painting of a giant Eminem.
Maybe I could show it. I don't show you my message.
You know what? If Eminem Mars comes after us, so be it.
I think it's a flattering photo. They should have no problem with that.
I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty. But so he kidnaps me, and then some stuff happens, and no, I was not comfortable to be backstage. It took a small little space where you're like, the backstage is right where the audience is sitting. So you get taken behind, and then you're hearing all the reactions. You're you're kind of like frantically looking to see, are people laughing? Are people smiling? Are people looking at their phones, like bored? And you're also so close to the actors on stage, and you're like, oh my God, is somebody going to break? Is somebody going to, so it was I think it got easier as the nights went on, but I would, the show was so physical. I would down like 2 bottles of water, or I'd make somebody from the previous show, a friend of mine, make sure I had like a can of LaCroix set. So just make sure I have my LaCroix. I was that was my one little diva thing. I'm like, I have my LaCroix boy to set me the LaCroix.
My LaCroix boy.
Yeah, but
amazing.
It was so it was fun, but it was also uncomfortable. There was definitely an anxiety, which I guess could be channeled into good energy or bad energy, because anxiety and excitement are kind of, there's a fine line between the two. So that's
true.
Let's say to that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's such a small theater where you can't really avoid the audience reactions.
That's true.
That's such a great point about the anxiety of like all the anxiety it takes to like be fearless.
Yeah.
All the fear, like be fearless is insane.
Yes.
Like I can feel that with you, Ellen. Like I literally can like feel, whether it was like one woman show or just Second City or whatever. It's like I can go right back to that feeling. And I don't know if you guys just like that backstage feeling of like, I am fucking about to do this. I'm like,
right?
What am I doing?
But don't you feel like it's everything up to the moment when it starts, and then once it starts, you're all adrenaline.
You're all adrenaline.
Yeah.
Parker, I don't know. Do we have any other questions from the crowd? I can't see the comments as they come in. He's just been sharing them with us. If not, we have a really fun section we can move on to.
Ain't nobody want to know if I'm single?
I do. Are you single?
I don't even know the answer to that question.
Yes, you do.
We need to just catch up. I don't know.
Yes, you
have been alone in your house for the past 5 months. A lot.
Yeah. No. Oh, here's a question, I guess.
I know that's got to be. Oh, a question from Jamie Moyer.
Hi, Jamie.
Who doesn't know it, but she's a future guest. So I haven't asked her yet, but I'm hoping. Who was each panelist's favorite actress when you were younger?
Oh, wow.
Who inspired you?
I have to say, I literally named a Cabbage Patch Kid based on this television show. I watched it religiously at way too young of an age. Way too young of an age. But I was obsessed with Three's Company. I went.
I love it.
Chrissy Snow from as Halloween. I named my Cabbage Patch Chrissy Snow Monroe. I was obsessed. So I can't say like Suzanne Summers is like the actress, but like just she and the whole show. But she was a big inspiration for me of like that physical comedy and like the timing. I just thought it was like a magic watching that show.
Oh, I love it. Chrissy Snow Monroe. How about you, Claudia? Did you have a favorite?
I did, and because I think I've been attracted to comedy ever since I can remember. And my aunt used to say that I would act out. I'd watch a TV show or a movie and I'd act it out in front of her at like age 5 or
I love
6.
That.
But I have to say that I always wanted to be the Black Carol Burnett, because
that was mine. You took mine.
You wanted to be the Black Carol Burnett.
I can't be the Black one.
But I watched her shows and I just thought she also kind of resembled my aunt. So that was another thing that, I just I just loved her shows. I loved what she did. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be like that. And all those wild, crazy characters. And so I would say her.
We just showed our son the musical movie Annie today.
Oh yeah.
So I got a big dose of Carol Burnett, and he really was into it. Ellen, how about you?
Well, I'm trying to think. Around like middle school age, I was starting to get into City, and my parents got me the truth. Oh, around middle school age, I started to take an interest in comedy, and I really went through a Mary Tyler Moore obsession. So probably Mary Tyler Moore and Valerie Harper.
Nice. All right, one last one from the crowd, and then oh yeah, no, I want to watch a bunch of that.
So we were all by the comedy greats, Carol Burnett, Mary Tyler Moore, and Suzanne Summers.
I'm really proud of all of you. I would throw Madeline Kahn in there too.
Oh yeah,
for Clue. Yep.
And History of the World. Part one.
Yeah, oh my God.
For sure. All right, last question from the crowd, because we've got one more segment before we wrap. And this one's, here's a little throwback. This one's from Mark McKilla, and it's from Maribeth. Mark McKilla is fam from Michigan, who's not in Michigan anymore. Mark McKilla wants to know, how do the Michigan connections play out on the West Coast with the shows you are in? I'd imagine it's usually a plus, but does clickiness or envy come into play?
Does clickiness or envy come into play?
Like people who wish they were from Detroit because we're so amazing.
You know what's weird though? It's like, I think there is like a weird cool factor with Detroit and people who are from Detroit. And there is this kind of like fascination with the city because all people hear are these like absurd stories of like what they think Detroit is like, and that it's terrifying and all this stuff. So there is a weird like, kind of like, oh, you're from Detroit? Like, whoa. Like, and I'm like, well, I'm from the suburbs. I always am very particular about saying I'm from the suburbs because I know people from Detroit do not like it when people who are from the suburbs say they're from Detroit. And I've always liked about
just like Chicagoans.
Just like
Is that the same?
Exactly. Exactly. So I lived in Detroit for a part of time. Suburbs is where I grew up. So, but as far as connections, you mean, I guess I'm trying to understand the question, like connections in like career wise, or is it more like shows that I'm on that are, because two of them have taken place, like have talked about Detroit and have been kind of referential about Detroit. So that was very interesting to be, like right now the show I'm on, Bob Hart's Abishola, it's all in Detroit. And it's just crazy because I look at,
do you sit there and be like judging their choices?
Our character, like our family is clearly, suburbs of Detroit, live in a big ridiculous house, whether it's Farmington or West Bloomfield, whatever it is.
Right.
And but like the way they dress up, I'm like, oh yeah, this is very like, there's a way that upper like middle class Michigan folks dress, and like the mustache that Billy has and stuff like that is just very feels so Midwest and like familiar. But yeah, as far as like I don't know, it is definitely a plus having the team that I have of like Detroit people, whether it's the Mark Warzeckas and the Sam Richardsons and the everybody who migrated out there. Of course, I feel like I've gotten help or have at least had camaraderie and a community to be a part of as I was like struggling through this insane business, which is so much disappointment. So I think those connections on a career level were helpful emotionally, if anything.
Well, and if you think about it, not to speak for you, but watching it build, let me answer for you because it's my show. But to see that build over time, when Larry Joe Campbell and Eric Black went out there, it was like, I don't want to use a colonization thing like they were Christopher Columbus because they didn't do all those horrible things, but they went out there not knowing anybody, and then we're Detroiters, so it's like, okay, give me your hand, give me your hand, give me your hand, and I'm sure other people from other cities do that, but
Larry alone did such an amazing job.
Oh my God.
Of just having us to his house for like everything that was going on with their family, or like 4th of July's, or he just was so inclusive. And I miss those times so much because I look back at my first 5 to 6 years of being in LA as that's what I think of, is being at Larry's house with all of our friends. And
we did that when we were on the cruise ships. That was where we went on Sunday.
Amazing.
He used to sit backstage at Second City and be like, I'm going to make it and I'm bringing you all with me. And we're like, ha, 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 ha. you know.
And
Any day.
Yeah.
All right, we are burning time because you guys are fascinating. So we have one more segment, and I really love this one. So we talked to all of you before the show, and because this is a hooray women, it doesn't mean a boo men. And I like the idea of raising up some men who have done us right. So it is time for the Hey Girl Ally Awards. Dun, da, da, da. So what we have done is polled all of our guests for predominantly men. We like to give these to men, but it doesn't have to be, that have supported us as women, as creatives, as people who deserve some recognition for doing so. So let's start with Claudia. Why don't you give us your ally? Who is your ally award going to?
Who this is.
I mean, I have several allies.
You can mention others other than your winner if you want to do the nominees are. You know?
Well, I feel like I probably shouldn't mention the others.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to be like, well, you left if they watch this.
Well, you're single.
You left me out. I don't want to hear that. But I don't know. I just feel like the person who believed in me when I was unsure of myself, even, was Mick Napier.
Yay. Congratulations, Mick Napier.
Again, I hear he's just always awarded.
This is his second ally award.
Yeah. Oh, because I got on the main stage of Second City with Maribeth Monroe. She had come from Detroit, and the other people had, been working at this, and I, again, was like, I was the newest one. And so he just looked at me one day and he said, I don't have any worries about you. You're going to do great. And he's just the most supportive. He's very intimidating, but until you work with him, you don't realize that he's a actor's director. And he shows you support, offers you support without being condescending. Yes. He's very straightforward, but not in an angry way. He's just the complete opposite of what he appears on the outside. And I just felt like my first show on the main stage at Second City, he was my first director. And I want to give him that award for being the best actor's director. There.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Right. When I think about Mick, my husband and I were going to work on one of the cruise ships for Second City, and I was 1,000 years old and I've been doing this for a really long time. And so they're like, we're going to do a workshop before you go on the boat. And I was like, just not someone in their 20s, please. Like, I don't want to be a diva, but I just don't want to, have somebody I could have been their mother teaching the workshop, And then they were like, it's going to be Mick. And I had never worked with him before. And it was such a thrill because I had, heard so much and read so much, and it was pretty cool. It was amazing. So
that's a great, Claudia.
Oh, wonderful, Claudia. Thank you. And congratulations, Mick. I'm sure you're watching now, so I'm glad to give you this award. It is only in name and image on the screen. You will not receive anything in the mail. All right, Ellen. Someday it's going to be a big deal, and guys are going to vie for it, and you guys will be a part of that history. Ellen, tell us who your Ally Award goes to.
Well, I thought of my friend here in Detroit. His name is... And he does live up to this last name. Joe Awesome.
Hey, Joe Awesome.
And he hosts a show here in Detroit, Hamtramck, the home of the Planet Theater. Not at the Planet Theater, but an art gallery here in Hamtramck. And it was always just I did that show, and it was just so fun. Like, it was a very inclusive performers list, and also in the audience reflected that as well. And there was always an audience, and they were a fun, friendly audience who wanted to laugh and soak in the comedy. Just an all-around great performer and friend, and musician as well. Also a violin player. So.
Oh.
Congratulations, Joe. Again, don't expect anything in the mail, but we will say your name a few more times, and your picture will remain until I'm done speaking. Congratulations!
Is his last name seriously pronounced Awesome?
Awesome.
That's awesome.
When he added me on Facebook, I didn't believe it at first. And I was like, this is a bot. I don't
that name. That's incredible.
I mean, I think you have to get into something. You might potentially be famous if your last name is awesome.
100%. It's a lot to look up, though, too. Double-edged. You know, you better be awesome.
You better be. What if you're like a total dick? You know, Joe Awesome's here. Misnomer. Well, last but not least, I'm excited about this one. Maribeth, please share with us your selection for the Hey Girl Ally Awards.
Let me see.
My Hey Girl Ally Award is going to the one, the only, who I started my career off with at the Second City Detroit, Mr. Kirk Hanley.
Hey!
Oh, I love this guy so much. I've not seen him in so long. I miss him terribly and think of him fondly often. But I was hired, I'll keep this as short as possible, but I was hired to be on the Second City Detroit stage in the weirdest way possible. Like Margaret was leaving and they decided to do an audition process, which never happens at Second City. True. And
they had the cast.
And the cast
put input on who it was going to be.
Wow.
Was going to decide. So I got
Snake
hired.
eating its tail.
100%. And they never did it again. They never did it again.
Why would they? We all killed each other.
Oh my God, it was horrible. I would so glad I was not backstage, but attempting to get backstage during that time. So I got hired in this very weird way with very little experience, and I was very green. I don't want to diminish. I thought I heard my daughter sneaking in here, but I don't want to diminish my, abilities of like how I got hired, but I was very green and inexperienced. And, coming into a cast that is very experienced, and I'm literally learning how to improvise on stage. This guy, Kirk Hanley, who, side note, was the teacher of the only improv class I took before I got hired. So he was my teacher of the only class I ever took before I got hired to be on the main stage with him. And when he came on board, up until that point, I was so green. So everybody I was working with was like, okay, it's called denying, you don't want to do that. Like literally teaching me. And when he came on board, I tried to learn quickly and I was getting my feet under me or whatever. But the moment he came into the cast, he never treated me as anything but a peer. And up until that point, understandably so, I was noted to death. Everybody would give me a lot of notes. It would be a lot of like, okay, honey. All right, sweetie. Listen, honey, like all that kind of like hand holding, which I get and I probably needed. But he was the first one that was like, you're really funny. And we'd find ourselves out in scenes improvising together all the time. We would just naturally want to write together. And we couldn't have been more different. He's like 12 years older than me. He had been doing improv and comedy forever. So he had every reason to be like, okay, let's just slow your roll. And like, what are you doing here?
He has a very reserved, calm kind of.
Reserved. He's very like I was leaning into the physical and he was, leaning into the reacting to that physical.
He's Bob Newhart.
He's Bob Newhart. I mean, just the subtlest, most hilarious reactions. So out of that, we started writing together. He's the first person who really made me feel like I could write something. We created a 2-person show together that toured together. Like he just was very integral to honestly helping me learn and like grow and like believe in myself and have confidence and know that I could be multifaceted and not just like loud, crazy girl on stage. Like I could do other things too. And he just from the get-go was like a partner and a teammate as opposed to trying to be a teacher or it was like we were just equals kind of coming up together. And it was so wonderful. And I honestly, I don't think I would be here truly. I hate saying that cliche statement, but I don't think I would be here or would have stuck with comedy the way I did had it not been for him and that relationship. For sure.
This is what I love about the Ally Awards. I honestly, like, no bullshit. There are bad situations and times where women aren't given their due, but there are Kirk Hanleys in the world. There are all these men who get it and who help us to be our best selves. One that I don't mention enough is my husband. I'm just gonna throw that one out there.
100%.
Because usually I'm so busy doing this stuff that I forget to thank him. He gets my ally award this week. But Maribeth, that was a really touching thing, and it was all true. He's a pretty amazing
great
guy. Congratulations, Kirk, on your verbal award. Well, I am gutted to say that we are at the end of our time together.
Oh no, Maribeth and I couldn't talk about that scene we did together.
I think we can fit it in. I mean,
so many scenes together.
Yeah, but the what we were talking about earlier about dicks.
Yes. Oh, we were talking before the show about seeing dicks back in the day.
Yeah. Remember that
more
scene,
often
Maribeth?
it happened.
Do you remember the scene, Maribeth? Based on the song?
Why am I thinking? No.
Let me smell.
Oh gosh, yes.
Girl, yes.
Yes, I remember.
Please, are we going to finish up with a song about smelling dicks? Because I really think that is the way to finish.
Claudia had a lot of scenes where it was very important things were done to dicks or to vaginas. She just was very.
she was my yes and to everything.
I would yes and I would yes and anything you wanted to do. But
it was Maribeth and Keegan in a cast was like, all right, I want to do this. It's crazy. You want to do it? Yes, let's do it. I'm doing it times 10.
Yes.
Well, I will offline ask you more about this dick smelling song.
Okay.
Because my interest is piqued. But sadly, the time goes by way too fast. I have like 10,000 more questions for all of you ladies. But I am so thankful that you took the time to be here and also to work out any technical issues to make it happen.
Yeah, thank you, honey.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Maribeth. You're all amazing. Please continue doing the amazing things you're doing. And we'll see you very soon. Thanks all for watching. Hey, girl. We'll see you next time. Hey, girl. Goodbye. Go be amazing.